Hey guys, here's our review for Elden Ring, The Shadow of the Erdtree, a DLC expansion. Alex handled this for us. He's been playing it non-stop at his house for the past week, diving deep. He's our resident expert in these kinds of games. Me and Joe are not very good at it, but that doesn't mean that we are not also going to give you our opinion. So we are planning to play on Friday along with everybody else. So stay tuned for our opinions. And I think Alex did a wonderful job on this review. I'm so excited to present it to you. So I hope you guys enjoy the review, and no worries, more to come on it. So check it out.
Hey everyone, welcome to another rapid fire review, this time for FromSoft's Shadow of the Erdtree DLC. Just in case you didn't see it in the title, this review will be completely spoiler free. Now, I've played a few Souls games in my time, and a fair bit of Elden Ring, so I was pretty excited when this was announced. I look back on my time in the Lands Between fondly. The combat was challenging but satisfying. It was incredibly approachable even for people completely new to Souls games. There were hundreds of weapons in dozens of different weapon types that gave the game incredible replayability for people who wanted to try new things or tackle bosses with new builds. The world is vast, diverse, and open to you almost right from the start, and it was actually worth exploring. Not just for the experience of seeing the world they built, but for new weapons, armor, ashes, and spirits. And I certainly wasn't alone in my appreciation for Elden Ring. It won several Game of the Year awards, sold more than 25 million copies, and even today has almost 200,000 people playing on PC alone. So the excitement for the DLC makes a lot of sense. Now, people often talk about wanting to re-experience a piece of media for the first time. The opportunity to relive those warm and fuzzy feelings they got, maybe when they saw their favorite movie, played their favorite game, or read their favorite book. And I've got to say that Shadow of the Erdtree gets you about as close to that as you possibly can. From start to finish, it was an incredible experience, and I got everything I wanted out of the DLC and more. Exploring the world was a joy. Like the base game, the world is mostly open to you right from the start. Some of the areas designed for later in the DLC could be a bit of a trek to get to, or require some figuring out, but if you really wanted to get there, even before the story lets you, it's still possible. The map itself is actually bigger than I thought it was going to be. It's certainly bigger than Lingrave and Caelid combined. It's densely packed with points of interest that are actually worth exploring. Catacombs with the mazes and the puzzles and the secrets and the hidden walls. Furnaces for weapons, upgrade materials, and spirit ashes. You've got the mausoleum and the jails for the mini-boss dueling, and all manners of caves and caverns that can just be enemy-riddled dead ends or can get you from one landmass to another. Now, the terrain here is divided by vast differences in elevation, so naturally vertical traversal has a heavy emphasis. Narrow paths, lots of platforming, spirit springs, and the new sealed spirit springs, as well as some good old-fashioned coffin sleeping, get you from place to place. I spent a very large amount of time repeatedly asking, how the fuck do I get over there? The world itself is also gorgeous. It's the land of shadow, sure, and it has its fair share of horrible swamps with poison and rot and spooky, scary locations. But there's also beautiful landscapes if you look, and plenty of visually striking places you'll happen upon. Again, I'm keeping this review completely spoiler-free, so like the advertising has told us, we do venture into the Shadowlands to see what Miquella has been up to. And along the way, we will meet several new NPCs, each with their own quests and quirks, and it's quite easy to bungle up those quests. And even if you don't, in true FromSoft fashion, the results can be interesting for them. On the gameplay side, I had 3 save files ready to go. A level 360 at max world level, a level 160 at world level 1, and then a rune level 1 character. I went with the 160 level character first to experience the DLC kind of as it's meant to. Not too leveled, but with enough stats that my all-strength Unga Bunga build could do its thing. As for the game's difficulty, if you've made it past the 2 required bosses from Elden Ring to even access the DLC area, I think you'll be just fine. FromSoft has made this DLC as hard as you want it to be. With the new character and Spirit Ash upgrade mechanics, you get to decide how hardcore of an experience you want. And the DLC land can be pretty tough, and some of the bosses will pretty much laugh at your paltry damage values when you first find them. And I mean it, I was riding high and feeling good after beating some early stuff with no trouble, with no upgrades. And then I found a big, nasty optional boss. Dodged some crazy cinematic attack animations, I charged up a big, heavy attack, and I did so little damage that I actually said, "uh-oh," out loud. And then I died. While you're exploring the Shadowlands, you can collect tree fragments and revered spirit ashes. You spend these items at Sites of Grace, and you can slightly increase your attack power and your damage negation, or do the same thing for your spirit summons. These upgrades eventually cost more fragments each time, so you'll need to explore all over to find them. Or honestly, if you just want to power through, you have that option too. And I'm sure within a week or two, a completely naked level 1 with a club and no buff run will be on YouTube. And another way FromSoft tosses us a little help is there are quite a few new weapons to play with, plus 8 completely new weapon categories. In my playthrough, there was no shortage of big, heavy things to smash bosses with, even right from the start. And there is no shortage of other weapon types either. One major benefit of this being a DLC versus a fresh new game is each time I picked up a weapon I thought was interesting, or found a Spirit Ash, I could immediately just go back to the round table. I could buy the smithing stones and materials I needed, and I just could upgrade them to the penultimate level just to see if I like them. The really amazing ones I could fully upgrade, as Shadows of the Erdtree was pretty generous in its ancient smithing stone and glove ward drops. The build variety here is immense, not just in brand new builds from new weapon types, or crazy new Ashes of War, which are going to make a lot of people very happy, but also due to some new talismans. They're going to give some much needed love to fringe build types. You're going to find several options for new weapons with at least 3 or more scaling stats, so people with really high level characters will have more options to choose from when pushing for really high attack ratings. There are also some incredible new armor sets. Sure, the stats are pretty good, but we all know that fashion is the most important thing. Also, be sure to check out the item description on all of these things, because there's a surprising amount of passive buffs on these. The magic users here are also going to get some new toys to play with. Big, nasty fireballs, pretty butterflies, bear stuff, of course, and then dark side Omega Beam style sorceries, and then lots more other stuff too. My first run took about 20 hours. That's for all of the bosses and optional encounters, at least all of the ones that I could find. That's all the exploration, getting lost, experimenting with builds, and an embarrassing amount of time matching the paintings to the landscape for the puzzles. So if you're just looking to experience a DLC one time, I'd plan for about that. For me, I'm at least going to get another run out of the DLC, and honestly, with the build variety this opens up, I'm going to play through the base game a bunch more times too. So I personally think the $40 asking price feels okay. I've played far shorter and far worse Souls games for $60. Shadow of the Erdtree had me excited to play it every time I had the chance. It was about as close to re-experiencing Elden Ring for the first time as possible, but with the benefits of building on those already refined systems and adding a few more. It really did feel like being a kid on Christmas. So I have to give Shadow of the Erdtree a 10 out of 10. It may not be perfect, but a DLC that's this good on its own, that adds even more replayability for its incredible base game, has to get the legendary score. Alright, thanks so much for watching this rapid fire review. Miyazaki, if you happen to be watching, please give me Bloodborne on PC already, and add a boss refighting tool in all your games. Thanks again, and I shall see you next time on The Angry Joe Show.